The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like tired insects in the Meijer on the east side of Indianapolis. It was a Tuesday in early November, just after 8 p.m., and the store had that hollow, end-of-day feel. Half-empty carts, tired employees, restocking cereal. Mark Thompson stood at checkout 12 with a red plastic basket hooked over his arm. Inside, a half-gallon of 2% milk, a loaf of wheat bread, a dozen eggs, a small pack of ground turkey, and the off-brand cereal his daughter had asked for. Nothing fancy, just Tuesday. The cashier, a woman in her 50s with a name tag that read Barb, swiped his debit card. The machine beeped once, sharp final, declined. Barb gave him the look. Not mean, just tired and sorry. Want to try again? He did. Same beep. The line behind him shifted. A young mom with a baby on her hip. Some guy in Carhartt. Mark felt his neck get hot. He dug into his wallet. $11 and change. He left the turkey and the cereals, paid for the rest in crumpled bills, and walked out carrying a single plastic bag that barely weighed anything. Stay with me here. You've probably never had your card decline for milk and eggs. But you know the moment when the ordinary suddenly shows you exactly where you stand. Six months earlier, Mark's life hadn't looked broken, it looked normal. 42 years old, project manager for a mid-sized construction firm that built warehouses and distribution centers around central Indiana. He drove a 12-year-old Silverado with 187,000 miles, coached his son's little league team in the spring, and made decent enough money that they could afford the house in Greenfield with the backyard that flooded every heavy rain. Sarah worked part-time as a dental hygienist. Their daughter, Lily, played travel soccer. Their son, Ethan, collected Pokemon cards and complained about math homework. They weren't rich, but they weren't struggling. Or so Mark told himself. He ignored the creeping credit card balances, skipped opening the retirement statements, fixed the leaky faucet himself on Saturday mornings instead of thinking too hard about the fact that he and Sarah hadn't really talked about anything except schedules and kids in 2 years. He was the guy who kept things running. That was the deal. Then the merger happened. Corporate decided the regional office was redundant. 43 people got the email on a Thursday afternoon. Mark cleaned out his desk into a cardboard box, while someone from HR stood awkwardly by the door. He told Sarah it was fine. I'll have something in a few weeks. Construction's always hiring. He was wrong. The first month he treated it like a vacation nobody asked for. Updated the resume. Drove to interviews in Columbus and Fort Wayne. Got ghosted. Took a few Uber shifts in the evenings, but after gas and wear on the truck, he was clearing maybe $120 a week. The severance ran out. The mortgage didn't. Lily's soccer registration came due. Ethan needed new cleats. Sarah's root canal wasn't covered as well as they'd hoped. He started small lies. Bonus should hit soon. I've got a couple leads. The credit cards crept past $8,000, then 10. He moved money around like a man trying to bail out a boat with a coffee cup. Every night he lay in bed listening to Sarah breathe and felt something heavy settle on his chest. The unraveling wasn't loud. It was quiet. A dozen small surrenders. Skipping the gym. Eating cereal for dinner when the kids were at practice. Driving past the Little League field without stopping because he couldn't afford the $85 team fee. The house felt smaller. The arguments with Sarah got sharper, then quieter, which was worse. The night the card declined, he sat in the truck for 20 minutes in the parking lot. Rain streaked the windshield. The plastic bag sat on the passenger seat like evidence. He ate half a stale granola bar he found in the glove box, and cried the way grown men sometimes do, silent, shoulders shaking, ashamed of himself for it. 42 years old and couldn't buy milk. He drove home, put the groceries away without a word. Sarah was upstairs folding laundry. The kids were watching something on the iPad. He sat at the kitchen table in the dark until the milk got warm on the counter. That was the low point. Not dramatic, just quiet and pathetic in the way real failures often are. A man who once ran million-dollar projects now rationing eggs. 3 things changed, slow and imperfect. The first was almost mechanical. The next morning, after the kids left for school, he sat down with a yellow legal pad and wrote every number he'd been avoiding. Credit cards, mortgage, truck payment, utilities, the medical bill. He made a spreadsheet on his laptop like some pathetic accountant. It took 3 hours and left him sick to his stomach. But for the first time in months, he knew exactly how deep the hole was. Facing it didn't fix anything, but it stopped the free-fall feeling. He could see the walls now. The second decision came 2 weeks later. Sarah found him in the garage at 11 p.m., staring at the tool bench. He told her everything, not the cleaned-up version, the real one, the shame, the lies, the fear that he was failing them. She didn't yell. She just sat on the cold concrete next to him and cried too. They talked until 2 a.m. It didn't solve the money, but something small and necessary cracked open between them. They started checking in with each other instead of around each other. Not romance, just survival together. The third shift was deeper. It didn't come in a single moment. It arrived in pieces over the following months, while driving to yet another dead-end interview, while watching Ethan strike out at a pickup game, while standing in the same damn Meijer at 10 p.m., buying store-brand everything. He realized he had spent 20 years measuring himself by what he could provide. The house, the vacations, the ability to say don't worry about it when the kids needed something. That identity had been dying for a long time, and he'd been pretending it was still alive. The card decline just pulled the sheet off the corpse. What mattered now wasn't shielding his family from hardship. It was letting them see him navigate it, teaching them, by showing up broke but honest, that being a man, a father, a husband wasn't about never falling. It was about what you did after. The quiet, daily decision to keep the family intact even when the numbers didn't add up. He started cooking dinner most nights, cheap stuff, pasta, beans, whatever was on sale. The kids complained less than he expected. Sarah started sharing her own worries about work. They were still broke, but they weren't pretending anymore. Look at your own life for a second. What quiet measurement are you still using that stopped being true months ago? Mark eventually took a job in logistics coordination for a trucking company. Pay was about 40% less than before. No more project manager, title that made him feel important at neighborhood barbecues. But the insurance was decent and the hours were predictable. They sold Sarah's newer car and kept the truck. They let Lily drop travel soccer and join the school team. Ethan still played Pokemon. The house still floods when it rains hard. They still argue about money sometimes. But Thursday nights they eat together at the kitchen table, no phones, and talk about whatever. Real things. The kind of conversations that don't cost anything. Last week he went back to that same Meijer. Same fluorescent lights. Same Barb at checkout 12, though she didn't remember him. The card went through. He bought the milk, the bread, the eggs, and even the off-brand cereal. As he loaded the bags into the truck, he thought about that night 6 months earlier. The plastic bag felt heavier now, not because of what was in it, but because of what wasn't. He still carries the memory of that beep in his chest. It keeps him honest. If you're in a season where the ordinary parts of life are quietly revealing how far you've drifted, you're not alone. Most of us are one declined card away from remembering what actually matters. The trick isn't becoming the guy who never fails. It's becoming the one who keeps showing up anyway. If this story feels familiar, if you've had your own version of that quiet, stomach-dropping moment in a checkout line or a kitchen at midnight, you're not alone in it. Most of us carry these little breaks around without saying much. If it landed with you, hit subscribe. There are more stories like this, the kind that don't fix everything but make the wait feel a little more bearable. And if you've got your own beep moment, drop it in the comments. See you in next one.